Welcome everyone. It is March 12th, 2014, and Aesthetic Impact Informational Services is very happy to present Lynn Buchanan speaking to us today regarding remote viewing and its use of kinesthetics and 3D modeling using substances such as clay, sand, stones, and blocks in your session. Those would be another tool in your tool belt as you do your remote viewing session, and normally focused on in more advanced courses. So if you have not had basic and intermediate, you're being introduced to something beyond your scope at this moment, and you're very lucky actually that Lynn is able to do this for our community. We are recording as always, and hopefully this will be up on YouTube in the next couple of days. I did include, because there are people who don't have any idea what remote viewing is, let alone what using 3D and modeling in P6 tools are, I did include a broader definition from Dad's book, Controlled Remote Viewing, page 42, just so that those people would have some frame of reference as to what in the world we might be talking about tonight. And I'm going to read that. Lynn's going to address it because it's a modified definition and it does need to be expanded upon. But in stage 6, the viewer uses various materials to produce three-dimensional representations of the site or specific elements at the site location. Materials such as clay, cardboard, and poster paper can be used to produce models of the specific structure at the site as well as the general configuration of the surrounding area. This construction is done with feeling. The use of these materials is not simply an attempt to render a more exact representation of the site than can be done verbally or by means of drawing. The kinesthetic activity appears to both quench AOL formation associated with purely cerebral processes and to act as a trigger to produce further analytical content at the site, even concerning aspects not specifically addressed by the model. And so with that, I am going to turn the presentation over to Lynn. He's going to be the presenter, and you'll be seeing his desktop here in a moment.
If you would, leave this up right now.
I can't do that and make you a presenter.
I know. Leave it up right now. I want to address what Daz has written here.
Okay.
Okay. And then you...
I don't know which the recording's capturing, though, your machine or mine, so go ahead.
It should be capturing yours because you don't have my desktop up. Right?
Okay, I made you presenter, so I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm still seeing mine, so.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Stage 6 has dozens and dozens of little apps that we call tools. And they're little procedures that are designed to make it easy to get certain types of information. It has dozens that are normally used and hundreds that are only used for very special purposes. The three-dimensional apps, the three-dimensional tools, are just one class of tools within the whole stage 6 structure. And so, we have non-three-dimensional tools. What I want to tell you, though, is that almost all of the tools in the stage 6 structure are ideograms. They're different, very highly specialized uses of ideograms. In the three-dimensional group, we use clay, cardboard, poster paper, and things like that to produce models of, not of the specific structure at the site, but of the gestalts at the site. And this is one thing I'm going to be hitting on very strongly in this presentation. On ideograms, you work gestalts. You don't work the target itself, and that's going to be very confusing to most people, especially when you get into the three-dimensional work. And so as we go through that, I just wanted to let you know that stage 6, there's only one group of tools in fact, it's a very small group of tools that actually deal in producing three-dimensional models of the target site. And other than that group of tools, there are other groups that comprise hundreds and hundreds of different specialty tools. And in fact, Stage 6 also has one group of tools that let you incorporate and report information from all other forms of remote viewing and psychic work. And it's the only procedure on the market, and the only procedure out there that is capable of incorporating all other methodologies within it. So don't think that Stage 6 is limited to what it says right here in this paragraph. It's much, much more than that. Okay, having said that.
Now I know what you're saying. Do you remember how to share your desktop?
No.
Okay. Go up along the top toolbar where it says share.
Right.
And obviously click that so you have your drop-down menu.
Desktop.
There you go. Getting a little stroke effect.
Okay.
Aha.
This is a handout we have, and that I'm going to give to Teresa to put up on her website for anybody who wants to download it. We'll also put it up on our website as soon as we get the website person up and working and all that. But anyway, in the more advanced stages of CRV, the viewer has the opportunity to use a set of tools that are not really available in the lower stages. One class of these tools is called modeling. Now, right at the beginning of this handout, I give a warning. The basic definition of a model in CRV is that it's a three-dimensional ideogram. And let me tell you, practice those ideograms, because once you get into the highest stages of remote viewing, it's almost all ideograms, extremely complex ideograms, three-dimensional, four-dimensional, five-dimensional, and so on. And we have ways to teach you how to use these. But this is a three-dimensional ideogram that actually makes a three-dimensional model of the target. The minute you forget that simple definition, you're going to go wrong in the use of modeling tools, and you're going to get bad information. And this is one of the reasons why we say this is only usable in the higher stages, because you really need to get really, really good sight contact with the target before you start using the modeling. Herein lies the problem that most viewers face when using models. It's only human nature to think of the model as a model of the target. And that's not what it is. It's a model of the gestalts, or the aspects of the target. It's an ideogram. Added to that warning is another one. Modeling requires very close contact with the target or the target site. That means it's not a tool to be used in the lower stages of viewing when the viewer is still gaining sight contact. If a viewer thinks that he has gotten really, really on target, but he's not, the use of modeling will very likely spin the viewer off into castle building, making up stories, and so on, and the viewer will just get lost. Modeling is definitely a Stage 6 tool, and you can use it before Stage 6 if you get really, really good sight contact, but it's just not a good idea, and it's not to be used frivolously. Okay, before going on, let me explain something. There's another important understanding you need to have, and that's the tendency of all viewers, and in fact all humans, to do what is called rubber banding. Rubber banding is the, spelled wrong word there, tendency to make important things larger and unimportant things smaller. For example, a fledgling artist, when they draw a picture of a human, will always make the hands, feet, and head bigger than they should be out of proportion to the rest of the body. When you ask a child, you give a child an outline of the U.S. and ask him to draw his state, he will always draw it larger and then squeeze all the other states in around it, because to him, his state is most important. This is why this human tendency is actually a valuable thing in the modeling process, because the viewer will tend to make the most important things on the model larger than they really are, and the less important aspects smaller than they really are. Therefore, your model is going to be misshapen. It's not going to be an exact model of the target. That's a good thing, because an analyst can come and look at it and see where it's misshapen and will know automatically what's important and what's not important. And so, you know, the amazing Randy or somebody can come in and say, oh, this doesn't really look like the target, you can't do this, there's no such thing. When in fact, all that's showing is that the amazing Randy didn't do his homework because he didn't know what's going on. Okay, the first modeling tool was invented by Ingo Swann as he taught the members of the U.S. military team how to do remote viewing. It's just a simple lump of clay. After gaining good sight contact, you home in on a single part of the site, take a lump of clay and shape the clay into a rough semblance of that part of the site. Here's an example. The Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. In doing a model of this, you would normally start with the fact that you already have found in your session, in the lower stages, that the target is tall, cylindrical, vertical, and pointed. You then take a lump of clay and you model the aspects of the target's tallness, cylindricality, its verticalness, and its pointedness. You're doing the gestalts. You're not doing the target. Okay? Remember, you're modeling the target's qualities or gestalts. You're not making a model of the actual target itself, because the end result is not really going to look like the target. The beginning clay model then would look something like this thing on the right. Just a lump of clay, kind of pointed on top, round, and so on. When you get into modeling, you're going to find that some modeling tools are useful. You can go to craft store and get such tools, or you can simply ask your dentist the next time you go there for some old dental tools. They regularly throw them away anyway, and so they are usually glad to give you some. The reason for the tools is that the model is an ideogram, and you know how when you do an ideogram in stage 1 and you do the sketch in stage 3, which is also an ideogram, how you tap it with a pen or you tap it with a finger or whatever. Okay, this is clay. You're using a ballpoint pen and you start sticking your ballpoint pen into this clay. It's not going to write anymore, folks. So you get some of these tools, and the tools will help you shape and so on. Anyway, from the basic point, you would touch the model with your finger or with a tool, just like you would any other ideogram, and you start reporting what you find at the various points on the model. For example, you poke around the base and you say, I'm feeling that part of it is open, and I'm feeling that it has repeating pattern, and it's cylindrical and smaller in the surrounding. Okay, you're finding these impressions first. Before you do anything to that model, you go to your stage 6 matrix or wherever you're doing, if you're not in CRV, wherever you're writing this stuff down, and you report what you get. Okay, then you go back to the model and you model those aspects into it, and the results would look something like this. You've got cylindrical things that are smaller, going around it, and they're surrounding it, and it's open in between, and so on. And you're feeling these things, and you're feeling the open spaces and the bumps and all that. And so you go ahead and model those things onto it. Then, as you feel around the model, you're going to get more and more perceptions, and the model will start more and more looking like the target itself, with the exception of the rubber banding. Here's an example. Note the relative sizes here. The one thing that's most out of proportion and enlarged is the spike on top of the dome and the crescent, the Muslim crescent, which sits atop it. Look at this. Up there, you have a ball, and you have a crescent way up there. See how small it is? And yet, to the viewer, this was extremely important. And so all of a sudden, it was huge in relation to the dome. And like I say, someone who hasn't done their homework would say, oh, you screwed up. No, you didn't. And a good analyst will look at this and know exactly what that misshapen part means. Okay? And so you will rubber band. If you're a human, you're going to do rubber banding. So don't worry about it. Just don't try to get an exact model of the target. Just get the aspects of the target, the gestalt, the roundedness, the patterned part of it here, the bumps equally spaced around or surrounding the bottom, and so on. And once you do that, you're going to be doing well and producing a good target. It does not have to look exactly like the target. Sometimes it actually will. The Kursk, one of the viewers was tasked with an event, that's D is not supposed to be on there, an event. Describe the event. That's all they were told. He was told. The task was to find out what happened at the Kursk submarine that exploded while submerged during Russian military exercises. It lay on the bottom of the ocean with some crew members still alive, and no one knew what had caused the explosion. Rumor among the Russian press was that either a Russian torpedo had accidentally hit it or a U.S. sub had attacked it. And we actually went on alert because we didn't know if the Russians were going to take retaliatory measures against something we didn't do. There was not definite feedback until weeks later when all the crew had died and the Russians were able to open the ship and go into it. The viewer, however, on the day after the Kursk sank, the viewer, not knowing what the target was, found that the target was the viewing was cylindrical, long, had something on top of it that stuck up, and was corrupted on one end from an energy which came from the inside and blew outward. The following clay model was made. Okay? And here is the clay model that the viewer made on this. Now, interestingly enough, he thought he was viewing the Alaska pipeline. And if he had made a model of the Alaska pipeline, he would not have gotten this. What he did was he got the perceptions, he got the gestalts, he made the cylinder, he made something stick up, he made the front with the stuff blowing out. And while he thought it was the Alaska pipeline, he still stayed away from the Alaska pipeline. He's an advanced viewer, by the way. And he got the Kursk. The weeks later, it was found that one of the Kursk's own torpedoes had leaked its explosive fuel, which had then gotten ignited, causing the torpedo room at the front of the sub to explode outward. And if he had tried to model the Alaskan pipeline, he would never have gotten this. So as you can see, it's very easy for a doubter or debunker to look at your model and say, it's all distorted, and so it doesn't look like the target at all, and such a criticism only shows that they haven't done their homework. because they don't understand what's going on. Okay, note, the clay model tool is most effective for finding and describing the aspects and perceptions of any one particular part of the target site. But what about the relationships of all the various parts of the site one to another? You can make a lot of clay models and just cover the whole table that you're working on with them, or there's another stage 6 three-dimensional tool we can use, and that's called the sand table. Children's clay blocks on a bed of sand can also be used for modeling the aspects or gestalts of a target. This example is the result of the viewer selecting blocks which represent the basic shape of each aspect of the target, but don't give any details about each one of the each one of the parts of the target. It only shows the relationship, and this is exactly what the tasking was, to show the relationship of the target site. And you see here a city over there, a river, a bridge, a road coming this way, a feeder road coming up over the bridge here, and a feeder road here that comes in from the side. The viewer worked on this for about 35 minutes, poking around the sand and putting models in and taking models back out. And finally, here's what he came up with. He's got the river here. He's got the city over here. He's got the bridge here going, that's over the road. And he's got the road coming here and over this road. This feeder road goes over that one on a bridge. The main road comes up through here and into the city, and he actually found this other feeder road that goes in from the other side. And you see all of these fingerprints. This was actually, he had fingerprints all in here too, but he smoothed that back out just so it wouldn't be a distractor. And he got all the basic parts of the site. Now, as you can see, there's no detail of any of the buildings. There's no detail of the bridge. There's no detail of the road. And in fact, he wasn't even sure this was a road. He was using green string for it, and he was thinking that it might be cable lines or something like that that were for telephone or whatever. But he, in spite of thinking what it was, he stayed with the perceptions. You touch it, you get a perception, you follow the perception, you put your subconscious mind in charge, and you're going to get the target. And so this is a three-dimensional model. Went out to White Sands, got some sand in a big bucket, and that's what we use for the sand table. You may have some questions on that later. Anyway, we use just things. Got a strip of blue paper. We've got all different colors of twine at all different lengths. We've got blocks of all these different shapes, and these are just kids' toys. And in fact, you can actually use kids' toys like a little car, something like that. On the clay model, either fingers or the shaping tools are used to feel around the model to find out what's in each place. You would not, for example, assume that the small columns circling the large dome, you would not, for example, assume that those columns completely encircle the large dome. What you have to do is, you've got a three-dimensional model. You take that piece of clay and you move it around, and you feel back behind the back. You turn it all the way around, and you keep feeling for columns. If you don't, you might miss a doorway or a window or some kind of object like an air conditioning unit, neon sign, or something like that. And so at no time do you assume that just because there are these little columns here, that they also go around the back. You have to turn the model around, and you have to find every single part of it. Okay? Excuse me for doing this to your eyes here. Okay. Never assume anything. If you assume something that's an AOL, or what we call a stray cat, you should feel around every part of the site, every part of the model, and let your subconscious do the viewing and provide you with another misspelled word here, impressions of what is at each and every place. I'll correct all these misspellings before I give you the final document there, Teresa.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's okay. I already downloaded it. I can fix them.
Oh, okay, good. There's a new tool on the scene, and it's one which very few people are using, but those who are using it are having a great deal of success with it. It's three-dimensional computer graphics. And the minute you say that, a lot of people's eyes glaze over, their ears kind of curl up, so they can't hear anymore and all that. It's not really something to be afraid of. If you're not familiar with computer graphics and you want to look into this tool, I highly recommend that you get a program called Bryce. And you can get that from this website, das3d.com. I think that now the program, I don't know, if you every now and then you catch it for free. The most I've ever seen it was $50, and it is a phenomenal program that gets you into some of the best 3D graphics that, I mean, you can turn out stuff the quality of Pixar. It's not as fast as Pixar, but you can turn out quality that good. And the program is also, it also includes a lot of freeforms and figures already programmed for you. And all you do is just sort of select them and stick them together to make more complex shapes if you want to. You don't have to make your own shapes. It's the quickest and easiest of all the programs to learn. Almost every other 3D modeling program out there on the market is extremely complex, is designed for geeks, is almost impossible for non-geeks to learn, but Bryce is made for the common person. It's extremely easy, and once you do one or two things with it, it actually gets to be fun. Anyway, the computer will let you use a generic shape such as a cylinder, a ball, a square, an elongated square, and so on. And it will let you add these shapes together, subtract them, and all that to get whatever you want. This was done by one of the students for the Dome of the Rock. And he got not only the dome and the cylinder it sits on, he didn't get the building, the main building itself, but he got underground passageways. And I have Googled, and he said he wrote and found out that these passageways and storage places are actually there underground. You can shape these things to however you want very easily. You can put the various forms together, and not only is this this way, you know, a two-dimensional picture on your screen, but you can simply click down and drag, and I'm dragging the two-dimensional picture here, but it will let you spin the thing around. You can look underneath it. You can look at it from the top. You can zoom inside of it to see what's inside. You can zoom outside. You can color these. You can do all kinds of stuff with these things. And with Bryce, it's very easy. with other programs, you're going to have a hard time. So I would recommend getting Bryce. Anyway, you can use this, and you can zoom back and forth. You can even make three-dimensional, where you take the red and green glasses and you see it in three dimensionals. You can even make those kinds of models with it. It's a very easy and a very capable program. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you the last little part here is a target that's already been worked in Bryce to get more details than what you're going to see next or even possible. But you can see how many of the descriptors of the actual target have been perceived and built into the model. And this is that same model that's been just enhanced, colored, and Bryce and everything else. The aspects and the gestalts, striped, domed, transparent, the windows. The fact is that you put together all the aspects of the target. The model will be more and more like the actual target. But as a viewer, you have to remember that you're not trying to make the model of the target, only the gestalts. If you look at this right here, okay, see how large that is in comparison to the dome? The rubber banding still takes place. If you're human, you rubber band. And as you saw in the initial picture, that crescent is extremely small, way up on top. And when I saw this, when I first saw it, I said, no, there aren't any windows in that. And then I got to looking, excuse me for doing this to you again, and sure enough, there they are, there are windows. I had looked at that initial picture, I don't know how many times, I had never seen those windows there, and yet there they are. Okay. These things are best learned after you have a really, really good handle in the work of 3D modeling itself. For now, just keep it simple. For now, if you're new to stage 6 or never had stage 6 training, here are the simple rules. Gain good, solid sight contact before you start modeling. If you don't, believe me, you will get this model started and you will start thinking of the model you're making as a model of the target, and it will suck you in. You'll start building castles, and from that point on, you're going to get garbage because your conscious mind is trying to do the target. You have got to let this act as an ideogram. You have got to let your subconscious be in charge. You tap it someplace, find out what your subconscious tells you, and you write it down and then model that into the target. Okay, let your subconscious give you the information as you touch the model. Don't assume. Write your perception into the matrix or wherever you write it according to the methodology you use. And then, good advice here, take a picture of the model, and that picture will be inserted into your printed transcript at the point in the session where the picture was taken. Successive changes that you make will have successive pictures. You put those into the session wherever they happened in your session, and you have a record of the model itself. Label the points in the pictures which pertain to the information in the matrix. If you say at point 1, there is something hot, okay? When you take that picture, label point number 1. And it will tell an analyst, or it will tell you years later exactly where you felt the heat on that three-dimensional model. Okay, you may want to use reusable clay-like materials such as Play-Doh or one of its knockoffs. If you take pictures of the model, you won't need to keep the model. If you don't take pictures of it and you're working a project, make sure you keep the model at least until after the project is over, because you may need to be retasked on that model. And the project director or Teresa may say to you, okay, go to that model, find out what's underneath it. And then you get more clay to get, you find out what's underneath it, or what's on top of it, or, poke it in the back, see what you find. And you can be retasked on the model. But if you just tear up the model after you're finished with the session, you can't do that. So take this advice, because you'll find yourself embarrassed if you don't. If you don't take pictures of the target, you should keep the model until after a project is done at least. Okay, these are the three main tools in the modeling tools. There are other tools in there as well, and in stage 6, there are hundreds of other tools that do not produce models. They produce maps, timelines, three-dimensional graphs, four-dimensional graphs, all pie charts, everything else. And so in the group of tools that are called modeling tools, these are the three main ones you'll use 99% of the time. And you learn to use these, and you're going to do well. Okay? And so that's all I have for this. Does anybody have any questions? And you can have your desktop back now if you want.
Okay, let me see here. I think I can do it. Sorry, find me. There I am.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I did it. Okay, I'm back.
You need to learn to say instructor use the tools, okay?
Terry's like, woohoo! And I'm like, oh, you're still wandering around in P4. Let's get a little better handle on P4 before you take this on, because she's going to be really enthusiastic.
The thing is that you can do this modeling even in stage 2 and 3 and so on. Once you learn how to do the modeling and you learn how to do ideograms, the thing that will catch you every single time with this is that as the model keeps taking shape and you start getting more and more information about it, at some point, it's only human nature. You're going to say, ooh, I know what it is. And from that point on, your conscious mind is trying to do the target, and you're going to screw up. It never fails.
I'm looking to see questions. Yes, so exciting. I knew that you'd be extremely excited. More questions?
This, when you get to doing it, is just so neat. It's so neat that you can take something like this and, like this dome here. You take that and you say, that feels too pointed. And so you start scraping stuff off, and pretty soon you will get it to the right shape of the actual dome. And
that's kind of like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, doing the
Devil's Rock.
Devil's Tower, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can do that with this. And I guess you could use mashed potatoes for doing remote viewing too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it gets to be fun, and you can, when you first realize that you can touch it at one spot and you'll smell something. You touch it at another spot and your hand tingles. You touch it at another spot and you feel the pattern of the tiles and all that. Now, this is what I say, you're really, really in touch with the site. And you start feeling it. And when that happens, you just cannot, if you're human at all, you cannot help but say, oh, that's what the target feels like. No, that's what the Gestalt feels like. And you've got to learn how to think differently. Okay? It's a trap, and you will fall into it. Ask me how I know. You will fall into it because I've fallen into it so many times myself.
Bob's asking, is it useful to combine physical tools with Bryce?
Yeah, Bryce is actually designed as a computer 3D modeling. If you had a 3D printer, yeah, when you get it finished, yeah, go ahead and print it out, I don't know what you mean here, except, you could work a clay model and the three-dimensional program in Bryce, and as you pick up something in Bryce, go out here and put it into your clay model, feel the clay model. As you get perceptions, go back and see about putting them into Bryce. You could do that, yeah.
Is that what you meant, Bob? And you can take the mute off your mic if you'd rather talk. He says thanks. Must have answered his question.
Okay. If you could have everybody send to all attendees, that would help.
Right. At the moment, if you send you need to send your questions to all participants.
All participants.
Because if you only send them to host and presenter, I'm the only one who sees them. So Sharon's asking, can we practice on our own with someone else selecting the target? You want to talk about your target pools? And I can pull them up on my desktop so they can see them if you want.
Yeah, you bet. What I would do if someone else selects the targets, have them select targets that have specific shapes, specific textures, specific temperatures, and so forth. A fire has a specific temperature, but not a specific shape. If you have something like that, have them select a target, have them select a, okay, look at the center picture up there. Oops, okay. The center picture on the page before was one of those telescoping telescopes and a compass. This would be an ideal picture. This would be an ideal target to start working three-dimensional models on. Something like a person's face or something like that. That's going to be very difficult. Yeah, go ahead and take target of the week and pull up one.
I just grabbed one. I have no idea what it is. So Sharon, you would be...
you got the dowsing map?
Yeah. Sharon, you would not know what your feedback was. You'd be working this target blind.
That's right. Go down here. There we go.
Well, of course, we choose one of a battlefield. Great.
Of course. But you've got the mountain, you've got the flat area, you've got the beach going down to the water. And so this would actually be a good one to get started on, or even the flag and the pole and all that. It would not be a good one to do a full session on if you're not, if you're not trained in how to deal with strong emotions.
Grab another one.
Okay, there you go. You've got long rows of little things. You've got things shooting up. You've got that background back there with all the arches. And yeah, this would be good for a sand table. It would also be good if you were to select, if your tasker, the person who made the target for you, were to then say, okay, move over to the side. There is an object, describe the object. And you could start making a three-dimensional model of these archways and so on.
Okay, I'll grab one more and then we'll take the next question if there is one. This is dowsing. I'm doing dowsing
here. Okay, here's a good one. I mean, that's all three-dimensional stuff right there, okay? And so this would be actually a good target. Now, you might get the overall shape. Okay, and then you go in and you start getting details. You're going to find these little things sticking out all over it. And this is a climbing wall. It's for climbing. And so you would touch this thing, you would try to get gestalts, you would try to get purposes, you would try to get sizes, shapes. Obviously, the shape of each one of those little foot and handholds is not the shape of this. And you would get angles. And so, yeah, something like this would make a good practice target for modeling.
And I did type in a comment to Terry who asked about strong emotions. And I said that when we train, we work with that from minute 1 with detox. I didn't include detoxing in my comment.
Yeah.
But I wanted to.
I guess this is another thing I need to address.
Mm-hmm.
If you do start working the target, what happens quite often is you go off target, especially if the target has strong emotions. But if you just go for the gestalts, for the aspects, for the enesses of something, water enes, tall enes, tallness, vertical enes, and so on, if you just go for those and you're modeling the gestalts only, it will shield you. It acts as sort of a wall between you and the emotional content of the target, and so it will actually help you. Oh, look at this! You were to get that on a sand table. That would be great.
Yep. Look at those wavy lines off in the background and the cars, the roads, and at the base of that thing, it's actually like sitting with a perimeter around it. So you could have a field day with this one.
Oh yeah, this would be great. And so the short answer is sure. Give this a try, and I would advise that you don't just have a person select something like this and all of a sudden you start trying to make a model of it. Go through your session, get sight contact first. Without that sight contact, you're just going to screw up, okay? And so go through a session, however you do your session, get the sight contact. Once you've gotten sight contact, then practice the modeling. But without the sight contact, all you've got is a lump of clay.
And if you don't, I'm sorry, if you are not well versed in P4, you're wasting your time going off on this because you're not ready.
That's
is
right.
all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why we teach it in stages. And Terry's asking about a good idea to do both clay and sand tables. So if you want to address that, revisit that.
You can, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily, if you're just practicing, I wouldn't necessarily do both in the same, on the same target in the same session. Once you get into these clay models, you may spend an hour to 5 hours doing a clay model, and your monitor is sitting there, and you know, sitting there for the 2 to 5 hours as well. I mean, this isn't you just slap something together and say I'm finished. This is when you get to this level of remote viewing, you may spend 5 or 6 days on the target. Now, see, that top target would not be a good one. Okay, that's a good one for remote viewing. It's activity, it's people doing something, it's and all that. But you go down here 2 pictures below that. Now, this is a good one for modeling. You've got the boat, you've got the odd-sized boat, you've got you know, all the different geometric shapes and everything else. So start out with geometric shapes, with targets that have geometric shapes and, you know, have a purpose and so on. Now, when you get beyond, well, when you get really, really good at modeling, let me tell you that you can model such things as political structures, pie charts, and get the sections of the pie to the right, you know, aspect and size and all that. You can follow some social or religious or whatever thing down through history by making representative models of concepts. And don't worry about that right now. What I want to tell you mainly is that what you've gotten here this evening is modeling 101, and this gets just as complex as anything else can in CRV. Let's say you did a model of this, and then the monitor says, move forward 5 minutes in time, do another model.
Another good reason why it's good to view the assigned target.
Yes.
Okay. More questions, and I'm flipping through these just because it seems to prompt more little tidbits and curls. So that's kind of big.
You could model that, and you wouldn't get all of this detail, but you would get the gestalts of everything that's here. And once you got those gestalts and started poking around it, you would start getting the graphics. You would start getting the different verticals, the end patterns of the logs, the trees, things like that, and you can actually do a very good representation of this with clay modeling. Now, on this one, you would want clay modeling. You wouldn't want a sand table because you've got one object, and so you're not showing its relation to anything else. if you wanted to show its relationship to the community around this big treehouse, then you would use the sand table and not the clay model.
And any more questions?
The important thing is that, you know, you get on the internet and you see, oh, neat. You get on the internet and you see examples of remote viewing, and it's rough sketches and all that. And I'm not taking away from those in any way, shape, or form, because that is fantastic work. It really is. But the controlled remote viewing goes so much farther. Reading and copying documents that are locked in safes halfway around the world, drawing the floor plans of a building where a hostage is being held, drawing a map of the city that's so good that you can actually use that map to go around the city and not get lost. The ends that we have already achieved in remote viewing are there, and they're there for everybody. I mean, they're available for everybody, but you have to work. You have to work for them. You have to practice, practice, practice. You have to learn it just like any other martial art. Are there CRVs working in the Malaysian airline incident? I don't know. I have, this entire last week, we have been sitting in doctors' offices waiting for doctors to see Linda. And it's just, I didn't even know about the Malaysian airline thing until yesterday evening when somebody told me about it, because I haven't even gotten to the TV.
That was me telling you. Would you like to address, I'd say briefly, I've had 2 or 3 people approach me about turning in sessions and, you know, is anybody working it? And the thing is, you are so polluted by the media and the trailers of this could have happened, that could have happened. To set all of that aside and actually do a productive session is monumental. Somebody like Lynn, who punched the time clock and did it, you know, 8 days a week, you know, 8 hours a day and 8 days a week, and then some, would be able to do this. Most of us, it's an exercise in an exercise, and you can do it if you want and then wait for feedback and see how well you did. But number one, you're extremely polluted with too much information. You're not blind to the target. You are also viewing something that probably has a lot of mayhem. There's going to be probably 250 or 69 people dead with this. Yeah. I don't know that for a fact. It could be another thing like in Entebbe. They could be sitting on the ground somewhere, but it's not looking like that. So you are viewing, and if you're a rookie and you go into this viewing that much mayhem, death, and destruction, it can get to you. You need to be practiced before you take that on. I will never, ever advocate that with anyone. And the fact that we have not been asked to contribute. So I'm going to let Lynn, please and thank you, address being asked and not just doing something and running up to some agency and saying, look, we're here to save the day, and then, you know, it all goes downhill in a handbasket.
Yeah. One of the sobering facts of the day, of the age that we live in, and you may not like this, but it's a fact. If you don't have a track record in a database where you can show someone your track record and your ability. I don't care how psychic you are or how accurate your session is, it will wind up in the trash. We live in the day and age of databases. We live in the day and age where data is proof. And if you're not databasing, then you do one of these targets and you find out, oh, there's 15 people floating in the water and here's where they are, and you mark it on a map and you're exactly right. Guess what? Nobody's going to go looking because you can't prove, you don't have a track record. And so, you can do a session like this. If you don't know how to protect yourself from the emotions, like Teresa says, you're going to get hurt. But let's say you do a session like this and you don't hurt yourself, you don't get emotionally involved with it and all that. What are you going to do with it? You're just going to leave it there on your desk and wait until there's feedback from the press, and the press may not report it accurately, or Justin Bieber may do something and get drunk or something like that, and so they won't report it at all because all of a sudden the downed airline with hundreds of people on it is no longer the big news. Justin Bieber is, and so the thing is, if you can't do anything with the results you have, it's frustrating to you. It's good practice. I mean, it's fantastically good practice if you know how to protect yourself. But if you can't do anything with it, it's just like I predicted the Chernobyl explosion, the Chernobyl meltdown 3 days before it happened. Big deal. Not anything I could do to stop it. And, what we're going to call Russia and say, hey, our military psychics looked into your stuff, that's not going to happen. And so these active targets, two hands while learning, okay? Do the practice first. I always liken it to somebody, a white belt in karate, going out and challenging thugs on the street saying, I can beat you up. You may be a white belt, but you may know some karate, but don't get in a fight yet, okay? So learn first.
So I just put in there, it's a waste of my time to do a session on something like the downed airliner.
That's right. Because
we haven't been asked.
That's right.
And I have things I've been asked to do, and for me to waste my time, do this, not be right, or whatever, there are things I've been asked to do. I'll concentrate on those.
Yeah. And a lot of people have asked, have I done this session or that session? And I have learned not to say, no, I wasn't tasked on it, because they'll turn right around and task me on it. And I've got other things to be doing. But in the military, we were actually punished if we did our own targets. And we were taught, you don't do any remote viewing except what we tell you to remote view, except the targets we give you, which are either practice or operational. And they didn't want us doing things like what's a politician's real motive. They didn't want us doing stuff like that. And so, we learned early on that if you aren't tasked with a target, then it's a practice. And with a practice session, you're really not going to do any good, except for yourself getting the practice.
I literally get people, not so much lately, but people say, like you're the oracle or something. They'll email me and say, what catastrophic events have you remote viewed that are going to happen this week?
Yeah.
And I look at those emails and I think, I have a life here. I have laundry that needs to be done, bills to write checks for. I need a punch a time clock every morning. I am not remote viewing catastrophic events this week, especially with how many hot zones for earthquakes, over around Japan. And I'm like, and they do. They think that. And have you done a session on this? I'm like, no,
no.
no. My dog needs to go out.
I have a friend who's a prospector, and I am convinced that he has found Cibola, the 7 cities of gold. It's actually 7 gold mines that are tied together, and they're underground. And I'm convinced that he's actually right near finding the entrance to the thing that leads to the 7 gold mines. But he will task me, I'm going out to plot number such and such, and I'm going to dig in square number such and such. What will I find? And I've told him, at times you'll find a pot, or you'll find a horseshoe or something like that. And I do a session on that square and that plot, and it never fails. I'll say, okay, you're going to find a horseshoe in there. He'll say, okay, well, what did you get for the other plot down the road? I didn't get anything for the plot down the road, Doug, because you didn't ask me for the plot down the road. And they think
my
that,
Lord.
Yeah, they think that, if you can do remote viewing, then you know everything in the world. And it just doesn't happen that way.
Anything else from anybody? More questions? Comments?
Okay, I am going to, Teresa is going to wordsmith this and get the spelling right and all that, and then put it up on her website and make it available to you if you want to download it. I will also attempt to get that done on our website, along with a whole bunch of other handouts like this that we want to give, to make public for free, and it's good free training. So if there are any other topics about remote viewing that you would like to see covered, we probably already have handouts on it, and we probably have ways to just present these things to you, and those ways are, the material is already there, and so on. So if you have any questions, let us know.
Good to hear, Sharon. You and I have been talking about this for a while, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help, and if you see a program that you works better with your schedule or you want to attend and you need more information about that, it doesn't have to be me, but you and I have talked about this. So just email me with questions and we'll go from there.
The thing is, Teresa is doing a tremendous job for bringing this to you. And I mean, she is dedicating a lot of her time and a lot of her efforts, and it's just been amazing to me that she has the oomph to keep going on all of this when some days I get up in the morning and I'm ready to go to bed immediately at night. The minute the day would be 2 minutes long or something. So I just praise her for the energy that she puts in on it, the time, and the caring to bring all of this to you. And you're going to have other speakers, right?
I have, yes, next month, unless something's come up. Angela signed up for next month, and she's going to speak on using different forms of information gathering methodologies such as CRV, ERV, and adjunct methods. And she's going to speak, or at least this was my overview. We haven't talked in a couple of months about it. She's going to speak about having combined methodologies working together, you know, because everybody has a different reporting system, and that's a critical piece. If I retask you on a session and you've no idea how to go about being retasked or how to document, or if you don't know how to write a summary, that bogs me down like you would not believe. I turn into a secretary, and I spend huge amount of time redoing work that other people have done. And I'm not saying Angela's going to address that, but when you mix viewers from different groups, you are taking on something that is truly a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so, and go ahead.
What you got to understand is that all of this was developed for the military to get information in an organized, sensible manner that anyone can understand quickly. And, you know, you may have your own method for reporting, for summarizing. You may just write on paragraphs, or you may do whatever you want. But the fact is that when you do, if you're working on a project, it is misery for the project manager, and it slows the entire process down. And, you know, you have your own way of doing it. That's good. Keep your own way of doing it, but also learn how to work on the project and the method that's useful. And Teresa uses the method that was developed for the military, and it works, and it's very fast. It gets 10 viewers information collated into a report form and back to a customer in the shortest time possible. And so please consider your project manager when you start working on projects, and learn how to do it.
The thing is, if you've not been trained in how to report things or what's expected of you, then I have to redo half the stuff that people have turned into me. I'm getting beat up on a project right now that I'm just typing and typing and typing and retyping things that people didn't include in summaries, things that they didn't include in retasking. I have to go back and look it up to see what they were retasked on. And I've decided that, you know, if I'm not going to use these people again, because I just don't have the time to redo what should have been right the first time. So anyway, we got off there, and I'm not saying that Angela's going to speak to any of that, but her topic is different methodologies and different viewers working together. And then that's April. And May, we have Rob Abbott, who is well known in the CRV community. He's on the various e-group lists. Rob is deaf, and he will be having someone sign for him, and he will be participating using a deaf interpreter. But he is a natural intuitive. It has dowsing ability and precog ability. It's a little difficult to show that in this environment, but as someone who has their normal senses, they don't fully function the way the majority of people. He doesn't have his hearing, so he has heightened sensitivity, and he left it up to me how to describe what he's going to do, and that's all I know. And I'm turning the mic over to him and his interpreter, and we roll with his presentation in May. And I'd like to remind everybody that the coordinates, all you have to do is go to WebEx, and the coordinates are there for the month. The coordinates have nothing to do with the topics that we're presenting. They don't correlate. They're not front loading. It's very complicated to make 2 posts people will sign up for coordinates and just as a post for announcement purposes, and they'll think we'll be getting together, and then they'll miss the presentation by the speaker because they will have signed up for the wrong thing. So anyway, each month the coordinates for the targets are on WebEx. All you have to do if you want to participate is send your session to me at aiifpracticerv@aol.com. And if you are wanting to be retasked and work your session again, you do need to be somewhat considerate of my time. Get it to me early enough that I can look it over and get it back to you. And then we discuss it. We have 2 discussions a month, and we will discuss those retask sessions on our second Wednesday of the month. And I think we're on Wednesdays 2 and 4, as I recall. So anyway, just a reminder, if you want to turn in sessions, the coordinates are posted, and get them to me, and I will get them back to you with retasking if you want.
And as far as practicing the modeling or any aspect of remote viewing, you saw how Teresa pulled up the targets of the week on my website, and those we have over 350 now, and I have a whole bunch waiting to be put up there, new ones. And so that's you know, a lot of practice targets that are designed to be without strong emotions, and good targets that are designed for remote viewing students. And so please feel free to use those.
And let me flip you back one more time. I'll show you. I have sometimes Lynn sites down for restructuring, redesign, maintenance. I have a small target pool here under the practice instructions. So I have some. I did not choose Lynn's numbering system just because of day, month. I didn't want to hit on anything that he had done even accidentally. So I just grabbed tag numbers off a random generator, and you download the target and use these as coordinates. And so there's another target pool that's available to you. Figure out how to get that back. Okay. And anything else before we go? And if not, I think I've covered what's coming up in the next couple of months. I am giving a presentation in Columbus, Ohio in May, and I am working with IRVA. I've just been talking with Paul Smith and Pam Coronado. They need some secretarial type things done to help with deadlines and timelines. So I'm helping coordinate the IRVA conference this year. I don't have to do anything as far as too much other than communications and I think some public relations. It may unfold a few things at the conference itself. I'm not really sure. So just be aware that the IRVA conference is at the end of June, and if you sign up, there is an early bird discount. It's at the Green Valley Ranch Resort. Those rooms, there's a block of those on hold and at discount rate. We're just now getting speakers released, and our keynote speaker is Dr. Alexander, the neurosurgeon who had a near-death experience. We just have another speaker announced, and I probably may not pronounce this properly, Mr. Khartoum, and he has invented a medical technology intuitive tool that has been 93% accurate and has had some good press and media exposure and publication. So he's going to be speaking. So these are some real inroads that show how the psychic world is broader than remote viewing, and it comes in under consciousness, but we're expanding our boundaries, and I'm really happy to see that. So that's all I have, I think, and thank you all for coming. Thanks to you, Lynn, for giving us this information because you didn't have to. This is part of your training program.
Yeah.
You did not have to give this to us, and we appreciate it.
I just hope it helps people. That's what I'm really interested in.
Me too. And with that, good night, John Boy.
Good night. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Let people know about Teresa's meetings and her videos that are on the YouTube, please.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.